Dame Alison Rose, the chief executive of NatWest, resigned overnight after admitting that she had leaked private information about Nigel Farage's finances to the BBC. But the former UKIP leader doesn't think it should end there and is demanding that the entire board of NatWest should go, insisting there must be cultural change at the top of the bank.
You can't be in banking at any level. You know, whether you're a cashier right through to being the boss of NatWest, you cannot breach confidentiality. So she's gone, and it's right that she has gone. However, I think this brings into question the whole of the board. You know, the chairman of the NatWest Group, the CEO of Coutts, the subsidiary. Frankly, because of how they behaved, I think they should all go.
Despite the NatWest board insisting that it had full faith in Dame Alison yesterday afternoon, just 8 hours later, she quit. It seems pressure from Downing Street led to her finally falling on a sword. Their government has also ditched her as a top advisor. She's no longer on the Energy Efficiency Task Force and the PM's Business Council. Ouch. But Farage remains on the warpath. In an interview with the BBC Today, the broadcaster, which of course published the original inaccurate story about his finances, Farage accused presenter Nick Robinson of being condescending.
Pretty much whatever you do, there are people saying, I know what this is about. He wants to get back into politics again. I know you've run 7 times and lost 7 times, but
I'm really not going to have this. I'm sick to death of your condescending tone. It's about time.
I was teasing you, Mr Farage. I was teasing
actually, you weren't. What you should say to people is you're the only person in British history who's won 2 national elections leading 2 different parties. Let's try that aside.
Are you coming?
Wowzers. The embarrassing ordeal has now hit NatWest in the stock market too. Shares plunged by 4%, wiping £850 million off its value. And look, this is a very unedifying discussion and debate about a company and how it's governed. But actually, there are people who are now taking political sides based on what good governance is. And in fact, what we've got is we've got a board who came to a decision which was wrong. We've got a chief executive who had to be pushed in order to go. The board came to the wrong decision. They're paid. So the chair of the board, Howard Davies, who's already said that he's going, by the way, next year. Frankly, he shouldn't be hanging around. 750,000 quid to do that non-executive job. All the non-executive directors on 200,000 plus pounds a year to do this job. They are paid an enormous amount of money. And the reason for that is that running a bank is difficult. Yet running this bank, integrity is not part of either NatWest or indeed Coutts' central tenet of how they operate. And then you have a look at what Coutts is doing, and they're making decisions based on people's politics or otherwise, which absolutely shouldn't be done in terms of banking. So I do think that Nigel Farage has got a point. We need to step away from our views about Nigel Farage, whether you like him or not. He has a point. The board have misled, if you like, their shareholders and destroyed value in the company and not applied proper governance throughout the business, and mistakes have been made at operational level. That needs to be corrected. NatWest is a shambles. It needs change.
Do you remember a few years ago when many of our British banks knowingly sold PPI, £40 billion worth of it to customers, vulnerable people? Not one CEO of any of the banks was forced to resign.
And they should have been.
What about when Cruella Braverman Cruella, when she leaked secrets from government and then was fired and was brought back to government 5 days later?
I don't think she should be there.
Well, fine, but it's got to be one rule for all. Forget who's
but this is a bank. It's not the government.
No,
but
this
is about this Dame Alison Rose. What the shambles of this is astonishing. You know, she sat next to Simon Jack, the BBC hack.
Well, he's the business editor.
The hack. He got it wrong, wrote a load of old rubbish.
Well, he didn't get it wrong.
No, he was given wrong information.
It was wrong, but he
got it wrong.
He was fed wrong information.
He should have, for example, known that
if the chief executive of a company tells you
financial threshold, so he should have known that. Is the business. This isn't the point. Shambles, 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 and then last night, shambles upon shambles. Incredibly, she finally steps down. The board, for reasons that remain a massive mystery, announced they still have full confidence in her. Then, in the morning, she has
because the 39% shareholder of the government said out.
They put woeful wokery over good governance, and that's not the way to run.
Can I just address the financial threshold issue? Because it wasn't necessarily that. Farage had a mortgage with Coutts, and let's just
there isn't a financial threshold.
No, I'm not saying that there is, but Farage.
That's what he wrote.
But Farage, I'm not defending that. That was Afia's point. My point's separate to that. We're not all women don't all think the same.
We all hate each other.
Yeah. So Farage had a mortgage with Coutts that he'd finished paying off. Now, as part of his bank account with Coutts, which is a private bank account, NatWest is a separate one. If it would be different, if it had
semi-private.
Yes,
because the chief executive likes to go around discussing it.
Can I finish my point? They have to manage reputational risk. Now, if they're making a lot of money from Farage's mortgage payments, then it's worth having a reputational risk from these, what they're called now PEPs, right, which politically exposed persons. Once he's finished paying off that mortgage, they're not making a lot of money from him.
You're justifying what they did?
I am justifying what they did.
So what was the reputational damage that he posed?
So it's not just about political views, it's how you put across those political views. So me and JJ, we're different because we work in TV.
Bank should be private.
Again, let me finish my point. A bank is a business, is it not? So they have to monitor the people who he's spoken about publicly the fact that he has an account with Coutts. Therefore, his money is funding Coutts' business. It's reputational risk, it's due diligence. They have to do that responsibly as a business.
He talked about them after they debanked him.
Exactly. He had the right to say they've just debanked him.
Yes, he does have the right to do that.
They said, we're getting rid of him because it would inflict upon us reputational damage being connected with Nigel Farage. What's weird about that was until he came out 3 weeks ago and said they've cancelled me, nobody knew he had an account there.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. They have inflicted on themselves absolute.
It's an elitist.
You can't justify this.
It is an elitist issue because this is for millionaires crying about the fact they can't have a premier, executive, whatever, millionaire banking.
No, you misunderstand.
He can have a NatWest account like the rest of us. I have a NatWest account.
Only because they offered it later because he shamed them. Look, it's really clear. Coutts does have some rules on banking, but they weren't applying them and they don't apply them to everybody.
No.
And so if you don't apply them to everybody, and if you have a look at that report is shameful. Now, if you want to exclude
Why is it
somebody
shameful?
Deciding whether you can bank with a company based on whether or not you think they're
that
a
is shameful.
Yeah,
it's shameful.
I think it's fine. If he thinks
right.
that things...
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think that it's
Slavery wants to live in a world in which people are judged on their political views and...
You're judging me on my political views?
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. I just said it's fine and you jumped down my throat.
Judging on your views about NatWest.
Anyway.
By the way, there are 10,000 other people who've had their accounts cancelled by
This has
NatWest. That's outrageous. That is outrageous.
That means they're applying it to everyone. So Nigel is not being attacked personally, is he? No. It's happening to everyone, so it's fair.
It's not about
Nigel Farage
really
is a man of the people and he's being treated like everyone else.
Man of the people.
Have a look at some of the scandals relating to how that bank cleared up its mess after the financial crash. It's more need to go.